Okay, so we're here at the KISSA conference in Quebec City at the Chateau Mont-Ste-Anne, the Papal Mont-Ste-Anne, home of Alice Harvey and Pierre Harvey, and steeped in history, both mountain biking and Nordic skiing. And we're here with Peter Ashley, who's been honored at this conference for his years of being involved with the sport, of building the sport. He's been a coach. He's been with Fischer for I don't know how many years, and we're going to find out a little bit about Peter's past, and he's going to share a little bit with us. He told us some things tonight. The worm story was very interesting, Peter, and congratulations on your years of service in the industry. And why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about where you're from and how you got into the ski business.
Benjamin, I was born and raised in Jackson, Wyoming. Very lucky to have been born and raised there, and I started skiing at a very young age, probably 5. I always lived at the base of Snow King Mountain, and so at the end of every day of skiing, I could ski off of that mountain right into my backyard, and that continued. Grade school, high school, didn't matter. I could always do it, and my parents called that the big babysitter, because actually, you know, during the early 50s, early 60s, that was what you did in Jackson. In the wintertime, you went skiing, and all of our friends skied, and it was a huge deal. A lot of potluck dinners and a lot of races, both alpine and cross country, and I feel very fortunate to have grown up with the Jackson Hole Ski Club, and they were a big influence on my life.
So obviously got in your blood early, it sounds like.
Yeah, my father was involved in the Jackson Hole Ski School.
Okay.
He also coached the high school team there, and so sometimes I would travel with him to those high school races, and so yeah, I was involved with the sport for as long as I can remember.
Okay, and so were you alpine and cross country at that time?
I first started with alpine skiing and alpine racing, and then somewhere around the age of 12, my father gave me a pair of cross country skis, and actually became pretty good at it. And for a number of years I raced both alpine and cross, but as I became better and better at cross country, then the alpine kind of fell away, and somewhere around my sophomore year in high school I specialized in cross country skiing.
Very good. So I know I heard that you've had some years as a coach, and I don't know a lot about your coaching, but I hear you've done some pretty high level with juniors, World Cup, and tell us a little bit about how you got involved with coaching and about your career as a coach.
I left the University of Colorado after skiing for that team for 4 years in 1974, and I had a degree in finance, and I wasn't really interested in dealing with the corporate world, so I came back home to Jackson, and there was an opening as the Nordic coach for the Jackson Hole Ski Club, and so I took that position, and that was the start of my coaching career. And I have to say I was very fortunate to have some really super parents that were very supportive of the program, worked really hard with me. I happened to have some really dedicated athletes, and they got pretty good. We traveled a lot, and at that time there was no development team, no junior team for the U.S. team, so I bitched a lot about it, and they said in 1978, okay, then you do it. So I was the first national junior coach, and I was responsible for the development of the country's best juniors. Took them domestic racing as well as some international racing, and from there I ended up working as head coach for the women's team, and after that I was responsible for coaches education for the USSA.
Wow, so that's a lot of coaching that we just learned about. So I heard, you know, when the skating revolution kind of hit, or just prior to it hitting, I heard somebody mention something that you were involved in, that you were big on skating.
Well, that was a really very, very interesting time in the history of the sport. Of course, we know that Koki kind of started with the marathon skate, but it wasn't really until the 1985 World Championships in Seefeld, Austria, that the best athletes in the world were forced to skate. And I was fortunate enough to be there and could kind of see be at the forefront of the skating revolution. You can imagine an international athlete preparing all year long, coaches telling them, no, there's no chance that there's going to be any skating at the World Championships. Just continue to classic train. They get to the World Championships. There's a vote among all the nations, and it had to be a unanimous vote as to whether it was going to be free technique or classic technique. And it just took one country to flip that, and all of a sudden, all the races were freestyle. And it was quite a deal. Athletes were learning the sport during the race, basically. And so that's where it started, and of course, we were the only people as coaches that were privy to this information, and so we were charged with the fact to go back and create the education for coaches in this country. And I was responsible or helped to do that.
Well, that's a very potent time in the sport that seems, that when you look at what's going on today, that was really a very important turn of the page.
It was definitely a huge deal. I mean, it's similar to in football where somebody just runs and then all of a sudden one day somebody decides to pass the ball.
Yeah.
And it totally changed the sport and totally changed the industry.
Absolutely. Do you feel, when you look back at those days to where it is now, do you feel like it's what you expected would happen when you guys talked about it?
We had no clue what was going to happen. It changed so fast that we really were scrambling, trying to figure out what the next technique was going to be, and the different training and the different skis and poles and boots that were coming, and it was a really, really interesting time.
Absolutely.
So I don't think anyone could have seen that it was going to end up where it is right now, because there's lots that goes into that. And just think of the evolution of grooming. Skating would not be where it is if the grooming techniques had not changed.
Sure, it all goes hand in hand and builds on that. So tell us when you started or how you got involved with Fischer, and just how things unfolded from there.
I left the ski team in 1987, and a very good friend of mine, a guy by the name of Jeff Crabtree, who owned a outdoor specialty store in Jackson, Wyoming called Skinny Skis. Jeff and I grew up together in Jackson. We competed against each other. We went to school with each other. And he was opening up a store in Palo Alto, California called Pacific Mountaineer. And he called me and said, hey, I know you're no longer working for the ski team. How would you like to do something very different? And I was ready to do something very different. So I moved to California, moved to Palo Alto, and helped to run the Pacific Mountaineer from fall of '87 until the fall of 1994. And in the fall of 1994, one of my former athletes, a guy by the name of Dan Simino, called me. He was the sales and product manager for Fischer at the time, and he was leaving to go to work for Timex. So he called me and said, hey, this job would be good for you. Why don't you send me the resume? So I did, and the rest, as I say, is history, and that was a little over 20 years ago.
Very good. So when you think about your years at Fischer, I mean, there's probably lots of really strong memories. I know you were there for the Revolution ski, and any comments you can say in terms of milestones along the way?
There are a lot of really great things and memories from Fischer. The guys in Austria are wonderful to work with. They are very close friends of mine. And when we bring ideas to them, they're very receptive to those ideas. So, Revolution, which was the start of the mid-length skiing in this country.
Sure.
The jib skate was a ski that was developed in California, which was way before its time. And I would say that was probably one of my biggest disappointments, in that ski never really took off, and that's honestly, I think it was a real shame, because I think it could have really helped the sport. Rounded tips with John Slober on our Nordic cruising skis. A hole in our skate skis. I mean, who would have? That's not my idea, but I got to sell it, and that really caused all kinds of commotion. S-bound. The S-bound line was created in Las Vegas by myself and my reps. We sat around in a hotel room and decided that we needed to change the backcountry world. So what was going on then was a lot of turning, so we created backcountry skis that turned, and that's where the S comes from. And the bound comes from the fact that at that time out-of-bound skiing was very popular, and so we named the whole line of skis S-bound, and that completely changed the world of backcountry skiing, and that was really cool, and that was probably one of the more fun things that was involved in. Boot-wise, we used to sell pink boots. That didn't go so well. But over the years, Fischer's developed a lot of really great boots, and I've watched that grow and grow, and it's become a very important part of what we do now. And so there's a lot of fond memories, not only with product, but people that I've met, places that I've been.
Sure.
I'm a very blessed guy, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I had.
Well, you've worked hard to get there, Peter, along the way, and it's just what goes around comes around, as they say. And I know that Fischer just celebrated their 90th anniversary, so that's another milestone, and for Austria and for the brand.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be at that celebration, and they did it upright. It was really very interesting to see a lot of the older athletes come back to that celebration, and that's a special deal. It's a special deal.
Absolutely, it's a special brand, and we all recognize the skiers and the input that goes into it. And it's not just cross country; it's biathlon, it's jumping, it's Nordic combined. You got lots of irons in the fire, as they say.
Yeah, that's what they do. They produce winter sports.
Absolutely.
Both alpine and cross, and that's what they do. They've hung their hat on that, and we'll see where it goes.
And apparently the podium has a lot of yellow on it, I hear.
Yes, the last World Championships was the most successful that Fischer has ever been, both skis and boots, and it's fun to be part of that. It's fun to have seen those U.S. athletes move up through the ranks. It's not my job to deal with them, but I certainly keep a close eye on them, and watching Keegan and Sadie and Sophie and Ida and Andy and Simi, that's been a special part of the job, and it's been a lot of fun.
Sure, and we are in the heartland of Harvey-ism, so we have Alex Harvey, of course, another Fischer skier, and
another Fischer skier.
Quite a lengthy pedigree of Fischer skiers, so congratulations on that, Mark. So now you're going to enter a new phase, and I've heard tidbits of what's going to happen. You're moving to Bozeman with your wife, Rhonda.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Rhonda and I have decided to move to Bozeman, Montana, where we're going to build a house. Many people have asked us, why are you moving to Bozeman? Well, it's very centrally located for our families. My family's still in Jackson. Rhonda's family is from Montana. She graduated from Montana State University. So it's always been something we've been looked at. It has a very strong ski community, which I hope to at some point stick my finger into and see what trouble I can cause there. But we're going to close the books on one great adventure, and we're going to open up another chapter on another adventure. So really looking forward to it.
It sounds marvelous, and we want to wish you all the best, and want to thank you for spending time with us and telling us a little bit about, giving us a glimpse into the past that's been your life. And we look forward to keeping track with you, because I know that the skiing is in your blood, as you said, and we look forward to tracking time with you down the road, Peter.
Benjamin, thank you very much for all you do for the sport, and the ride's not over. I think there's some other things to do and adventures to have.
Well spoken. We look forward to connecting again soon. Thanks.
Thank you.